James Harden has gotten into fights with a whole bunch of different NBA players, but make sure to watch until the end of the video, then let us know in the comments below which one was your favorite. Fights in the NBA aren't as common as they used to be, with most of that being because of the strict policies and punishments against it nowadays. However, fights definitely still happen in the league today, and a few players in particular just love to get their hands dirty more often than others. James Harden seems to be one of those guys, as he has quite a long list of fights throughout his illustrious NBA career so far. In this video, we're going to be going over just a few of the best fights from Harden's career to this point, and let us know down below in the comments which one was your favorite. Spoiler alert, the last one was our favorite, but you'll just have to stick around to find out what that fight was. This first fight was pretty basic. James Harden was still on the Houston Rockets at this time and could be seen chilling on the bench. Chris Paul was explaining what one could imagine was tactics to give them an edge in the current game, but Harden was only seen ignoring the dude. He didn't really say much of anything towards him and even slapped the guy's hand away when he reached for a fist bump. Then the two argued for a little bit before getting up and splitting off. Nobody truly knows what was said that day, but you can imagine that it wasn't anything to be proud of given the intensity of that small argument. Then, with the Rockets taking on the Memphis Grizzlies, Harden got himself involved in another fight. Houston was looking to take full control of the game when Harden drove to the rim to get a layup to fall. He was forcefully swatted away by Mario Chalmers. Harden got up and shoved Chalmers over the block, making Chalmers fall to the ground right in the middle of the play. When Harden attempted to run back on defense, Mario used his leg to tangle up James and drag him to the floor as well. The two then began to throw their hands around a little bit while remaining tangled up on the ground. It took a few teammates and refs to get the two split up and continue on with the ballgame, though it could have been avoided entirely had Chalmers not been knocked to the ground after blocking James' shot. Harden may have lost his cool there, but sometimes he's able to keep his head level despite a ton of persuasion. Houston was taking on the Philadelphia 76ers in this clip, with Joel Embiid bumping into Harden a few times in order to get under his skin. Embiid was whistled for a foul when Harden cut back door and attempted a layup, but when the two locked eyes, there was some mocking before they tried getting up in each other's faces. Fortunately for both sides, there were players standing in between them to keep them far apart from one another. Had they not been there, it was very likely that they would have went forehead to forehead in order to yell and argue. After that, there were multiple 76 players mocking Harden for the rest of the game. Every time he missed a shot, allowed a player to score, or even turned the ball over, he was met with a ton of mocking and laughter from the opposition. Luckily, he didn't lose his temper, but with the amount of push he was getting, it was kinda shocking that he didn't, especially after that initial scuffle with Embiid. Now this next one is actually pretty recent. With Harden on the Brooklyn Nets, they were facing off against the Los Angeles Clippers. Harden was able to pick up a steal in the passing lane and was sprinting down court for a fast break for 2 points. Patrick Beverley was the only defender in the way, and he held out his arm to stop Harden from scoring. But his arm hit Harden right in the neck and completely killed their momentum. Harden instantly started moving towards Beverley, but was held back by a few teammates before the two could exchange blows. This was just another instance of Beverley getting in the heads of other players, but in this case, it was justified, given how he and Harden already aren't on the best of speaking terms nowadays. But rewinding a little bit to the Houston Rockets days again, the team was up against the Sacramento Kings. Harden was dribbling around the perimeter searching for an open lane when his defender, Frank Mason III, tried to steal the basketball. However, instead of poking it free, he missed dramatically and hit Harden right in the face with his palm. Harden was so caught off guard that he stopped and looked around for a moment before tossing the ball back at Mason. Then they each got right up to one another and shared some words before finally being separated. The refs did eventually whistle Mason for a foul, and let's be honest, it didn't seem like there was anything intentional behind what Mason did, but you can't blame Harden for getting upset. I mean, he was smacked in the face randomly, and he couldn't actually see what really happened. All he knew was that he was slapped, and he had to defend himself. Another altercation occurred between Harden and the Phoenix Suns, specifically Devin Booker. Harden was able to swipe a pass away from its intended target and create a fast break, and the result was something similar to what happened between him and Patrick Beverley. Harden found himself one-on-one with the smaller Booker, and instead of just letting him run right past him, Booker used both of his arms to wrap Harden up right before he jumped. He fell a little awkwardly, but when he recovered, he went straight at Devin for nearly injuring him. The two went at it for a few minutes before getting separated, yelling and arguing the entire time. At first, it seemed like Booker may have tried to apologize, but each side was so mad that it looked more like it was going to turn into a brawl on the court. At least there weren't any punches thrown this time, unlike this next fight. Harden started his career off on the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the team was going up against the Los Angeles Lakers at this point in time. Meta World Peace scored a crucial layup for the Lakers in this game and began celebrating passionately, and Harden was near him just minding his business and staying locked in. But Meta then delivered an elbow to the back of Harden's neck, and the only reason was that he was slightly in the way of his celebrations. Harden fell to the ground almost instantly and held his ear and neck area as you normally would after being elbowed in the back of the head. Meta kept bouncing around like nothing had even happened, but it was very clear that something was wrong. The medical team rushed out to aid Harden on the floor, and the commentators reviewed the film and labeled the act disgraceful. They also pitched the commissioner to not only eject Meta from the game, but to hand him a suspension. Fortunately, Harden didn't suffer any terrible damage, but violence should never be involved in the game of basketball, especially when it's this random. Finally, we come to the fight involving the San Antonio Spurs and DeJounte Murray. This was one of the more entertaining fights of Harden's career so far, and for good reason. Harden got the ball stripped away from him during a possession, and to him it felt like he was fouled when Murray swiped. But regardless, James chased after him anyways to avoid giving him free points. Murray scored a layup, and when he landed, he turned around and him and Harden bumped right into one another. Harden immediately pushed Murray out of the way, and Murray extended his arm and pointed right at him while yelling back at him. They were going at it verbally for a while before the refs got a handle on things and settled them both down before things got even more heated. Thankfully, it didn't last very long, as the two didn't seem to have intentions of fighting one another right then and there, but it did raise some questions about what could have happened had they not been separated that quickly. Guess that's something we'll never get the pleasure of knowing. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Also, remember to hit that bell icon so you don't miss another video, and believe me, you won't want to. Check out some more NBA fights by clicking the video that appears on your screen.